Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Digimon TCG Regionals from the UK Games Expo at the lovely NEC just outside Birmingham in the UK. My name is Ross Gilbert, and we've got another lovely round of Digimon action for you. We're going to be bringing you every round throughout the day, so don't worry. If there is a round, I'm not moving anywhere. I'm in this seat all day until this tournament ends. We'll be bringing you every round, all the action, and we've got a game coming up for you, which is basically showing you the meta game right now. We've got a blue-green Imperialdramon, and we've got ourselves, that's a deck list come in there, and or one of them at least, and we've got ourselves a yellow hybrid deck. These are two of the big decks in the format at the moment. They're not the only ones, of course. The Armor Rush deck is really seeing a lot of play at the moment. That is really bigging up. It did get a win at the Latin American Regionals there just a couple of days ago, and of course, X-Antibody is still an absolute player in the metagame at the moment. There are other decks around, but these are two of the big decks in the format at the moment. Of course, we just saw Blue-Green Imperialdramon going on as a mirror match in the first round. It's a deck we're going to see throughout the tournament. I walked the tables after the last round ended. Obviously, I didn't see every game. Some of them had finished, but I had a look round, and it's exactly what we expected. This tournament absolutely teeming with your Imperialdramon decks, with your yellow recovery decks, your hybrid decks. As we can see, Ben is going to be playing there. And we got Sam on the Imperialdramon deck, and we are off straight up into that Vmon. We get that turn 1 evolution of the level 3, which is exactly what we're looking for. Plays a Davis Motomiya, and then we're going to be looking for we can grab a blue and a green Digimon, go straight for both of the Imperialdramon. There's not really much of a downside in this game to building up big hands most of the time, so grabs both of them. Not going to be playing both of them anytime soon, but at least has access to them. So over to Ben then, we've got that yellow deck, that hybrid deck that we see so often. We do actually see a yellow memory boost here. Let's look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Oh, we've forgotten to put the security out, but it looks like we're just fixing that. It's not the end of the world. It's round 1. It's round 2. It's early in the game. We're all friends here. Just do yourself a favor and do remember to put them out in the future. That would be lovely. Although it is a bit hard to differentiate between Ben's security here, so we'll try and keep track of them. So we do grab that Patamon there, and then okay, then Sam just saying, you reveal the cards, let me see them. There is an important difference. It gives Sam some information. Of course, Sam's following the game. By now, Sam knows what deck Ben is playing, as we all do. So here we've got that, we've got a Vmon party going on for Sam. We've got play a Vmon to search a Vmon and find 2 Vmon out of the free cards. Lets you grab a Digimon with 3, grabs it, and actually plays it straight away. So Sam's going very wide very quickly here. Of course, you got that same skill going on again. Lets you grab another free Digimon. And I'm loving what Sam's doing here. You're going very, very wide. You've got 3 Digimon out already. And you've got that other Digimon there just ready to evolve next turn when you need to. So Sam really kind of throwing down the gauntlet. I'm going wide. I'm getting lots of Digimon out. What can you do? Well, what Ben can do is get a bunch of Tamers Digivolving up and hopefully recover a whole bunch of security cards. Of course, we've already got that TK Takaishi on board. That's a very useful card. We see it so often in these yellow decks. And we do see that Patamon actually coming down. It's got a nice inheritable skill, goes right up into that Rapidmon. And Rapidmon, we see it in this yellow hybrid deck, and we see it a lot in the Armor Rush deck. It's really one of the big players around at the moment, because it's got Armor Purge, and you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon for each Tamer you have in play, and then up to 3 of your opponent's suspended Digimon lose 5,000 power for the turn. So obviously what Sam did there was just get rid of all those suspended Digimon. Sorry, what Ben did there. So that was really good. That's why Rapidmon's so good. It's not great against bigger Digimon, but against littler Digimon, you can often see a pseudo board wipe here. It's not going to get rid of every single card on your opponent's side of the board, but we can see Ben got a whole bunch of value there. Sam was going wide with those Vmon, and it basically did not work. Oh, and we can already see those hybrids. You got a Kazimon, a Sylphimon there, I believe. We got some cards in the hand for the yellow deck, which are going to come down. That TK Takaishi looks like it's going to be evolved soon, which is rather lovely. But I think Rapidmon last turn, absolutely the way to go. I think it was really perfect from Ben. So what does Sam do in response there? Lost a couple of Vmon, which is not an ideal situation. Oh, Hammer Spark comes down, grabs the memory. Swap a card for a memory, why not? We see that Lydramon coming in here. not quite past the turn, does suspend the Rapidmon, which is rather useful. Always nice to suspend your opponent's Digimon, make them a little less useful. Of course, it will unsuspend. It's not one of those ones that stops them unsuspending. But hey-ho. So what's Lydramon going to do here? Could potentially attack into the security. It's not big enough to take down the Rapidmon, unfortunately. So we go into the security, and it's Eden's Javelin, which is, unfortunately, just going to take that down. That is not what you were looking for. It draws you a card, and then one of your opponent's Digimon loses 1,000 power for each card you have in hand. So that was enough to get the KO there. So that Lydramon, that was a bad card to go into. And Sam's not having a lot of luck here. Ben is doing an excellent job. It's kind of like whack-a-mole for Ben at the moment. Sam's getting Digimon out, and Ben's just taking them down. Not building up his board phenomenally yet, but he's got enough going. We've got that. We got the Patamon that's Digivolved up in the raising area. We've got Rapidmon on the board. TK Takaishi, of course. And there we go with the Kazimon just Digivolves up. But of course, what you're really looking for is that Jet Sylphimon, which can now evolve as a one-cost, speak of the devil. And you also get to recover. You get an extra security card coming down. So this is going to be really, really useful for Ben here. What we do actually see a lot of players do, and what I probably should have asked for at the beginning of the game, we see a lot of yellow players will actually put a die out to count how many security they've got. Because of all of this recovery, it can sometimes get just a little bit silly. So yeah, now we see the Rapidmon. It's attacking into the security. It's not got jamming or anything. So potentially a little bit of a risk, but no, Stingmon comes out. Rapidmon can go through that nicely. And we see a Phantomon fall down mode coming down. This is one of those ones we see a lot. This is great. It doesn't have a purple Digivolution card, but it does have a yellow, which means on Digivolving, you get to recover one, which is awesome. So we're already seeing this recovery coming out very nicely indeed. One from the Aphanamon, and we've got one there from the Jet Sylphimon. And this is what Ben's deck is trying to do. You are using those hybrids. You're building up your security. It's all about trying to make sure, 5 security? No. Let's have a lot more than 5 security, shall we? And that is absolutely the goal. So Ben's deck is doing exactly what it wants to do. Now, Sam does have that XVmon. Remember, it's got jamming, so it doesn't matter what it hits. It wouldn't have survived, but it absolutely does. Of course, never ideal to see that Jet Sylphimon going into the trash. That's one you really want to try and get out. That recovery really is just so useful all of the time. So, we do see 1 security going away. I want to say there's 4 security left for Ben now. And we do see the Vmon there is attacking into security as well. It's a rapid... It was never going to survive, right? It's a lovely idea, but no, that Vmon was never going to survive. So even though Sam's not had a great start to this game, and Ben's been getting rid of those Digimon as they come up, Sam's actually doing a decent job here of being able to, just whittle away those security. And, Ben's already got an Aphanamon out, has already got a Jet Sylphimon out. So it's not an ideal situation. You want to really be going a bit further. Now, we do see Armor Purge as a nice... Oh, no, it's gone. It's gone. So that Imperialdramon does, unfortunately, get rid of that Digimon there. That Rapidmon's gone away. Obviously, we did see that Imperialdramon coming down here. Lets you take an opponent's Digimon with 6,000 power or less, put it to the bottom of the deck. It does mean, of course, that Armor Purge stops you being deleted, but it unfortunately has no effect on things that are going to return you to the hand or return you to the bottom of the deck, etc. So, looks like we're seeing just another attack going on there. And actually, Sam is doing a great job of whittling down this security. Even though Ben's deck is really built around building it up, Sam is whittling it down nicely. Of course, you've got that Imperialdramon, and like we saw in round 1, we are Digivolved from an XVmon. That means you've got jamming. That means there's no real risk here for Sam. Well, that's a lie. We saw Eden's Javelin come out. That certainly would help. But unless you see something like an Eden's Javelin, Sam is going to be able to attack. Although now we see coming down. And this is Imperialdramon doing what it's supposed to do. When you Digivolve up, you get to play a level 4 green and a blue from under it. And because we saw the DNA Digivolution, that is exactly what Imperialdramon's doing. So now Sam's taken 1 Digimon and turned it into 3. Bearing in mind, it looks like Sam's got 2 security remaining. That means that Sam's potentially got game on board here. Just all it needs to do is just go and attack with the Imperialdramon, the Stingmon, the XVmon, and that's going to be 3 attacks with 2 security, which is going to be the game. Of course, you know, one of the things I think about a lot with Digimon, it's how many attacks it takes to win. 2 security means 3 attacks to win. There's no security attack +1, etc. There's no extra attacks from Sam on the board. So the maths here works out really nicely. Attack of all 3 your Digimon, win the game. So Ben needs to get something going here, whether that's a recovery, and Kazumon is a good start here, or whether it's a blocker, whether it's something to get rid of one of your opponent's Digimon. Something needs to come down. Now, it does look like there's... Is it? Has he got Jet Sylphimon in hand there? Looks like that's what we're eyeing up. And okay, that's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's enough. It'll do. Because you recover 1, and then you are absolutely golden. Of course, worth pointing out, Jet Sylphimon is a 1-costed Digivolve, but only if you've got a Tamer in the stack. Unfortunately, there's no Tamer there. Fritzkus Davis is on the board. So we do see an attack here with Imperialdramon going into the stacks. He's another one of those yellow hybrid Digimon. Survives quite nicely. We now see an attack with XVmon, and that's a Tamer, so that does get put into play, which is always a fairly nice advantage. And now we see Paildramon coming up as a DNA Digivolution. Oh, and this should be enough if it survives, but it's got jamming, which of course means it will. Then it stands up again, then it attacks, and Sam takes a very convincing game 1. That was a really good game from Sam. Ben was doing a great job, got some recovery going there, was taking out Sam's Digimon, but Sam's deck just rolled. And we are seeing, you know, we're 2 rounds in here, and we are already seeing that Paildramon is an absolute star. Being able to attack twice, and, you know, there's a real big difference between whether Paildramon has XVmon under it or not. If you've got XVmon such that you can guarantee that you survive, it's perfect. But that was really well played from Sam. Of course, one of the rules we need to remember here, and it's a very important rule that makes DNA Digivolution so good. When you DNA Digivolve, you can attack. Even if you take 2 suspended Digimon, even if you've got Digimon that were played this turn, I believe that's a ruling, what you get to do when you DNA Digivolve, you can attack. And that's perfect. So we saw there from Sam, even though one of the Digimon was, you know, suspended, because you get to DNA Digivolve, you can attack with the Paildramon, then of course you unsuspend, and, you know, unless it was something like an Eden's Javelin out of the security, that meant that Sam pretty much guaranteed the win there, and that was absolutely huge. And that's what it takes. And Sam, you know, really did that nicely. Of course, both these players are 1-0. They both won their first game, so Ben knows what he's doing here. Ben's got a very good deck, which is very, very useful. And, you know, we see these yellow hybrid decks, you know, you see them all over the place. It won the EU Regional we had the other day. And it also came in 8th, and it came 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 7th over at the Oceania Regional. So we know this is a really good deck. Sam had a bit too much last game. Let's see what we do here. So what we've got from Ben, we get a Patamon coming out, again in that turn 1 Digivolution on the Digi-Egg. Played a Zoe Orimoto there. Let you search for a hybrid or 10 warriors, put it in your hand, and then you essentially recover because you're searching from your security. But it's not real recovery. You're just replacing the cards you took. So, Sam here gets the evolution again, then gets that XVmon, that card, which has really been huge throughout the day so far. And then we get the Davis and Ken, which is a Tamer card we're going to see a huge amount of as we go through the weekend. In these Imperialdramon decks, it is just absolutely huge. And, you know, when you Digivolve into a Digimon with 2 or more colors, you get to unsuspend. That's not to be sniffed at. So we get a second Tamer coming down from Ben. Remember, the whole point of these hybrid decks is that you are Digivolving Tamers into Digimon. So whereas we see in some games, you know, Sam's playing lots of Tamers, it's no good. Ben playing lots of Tamers means that you're putting lots of pressure on because they can turn into these Digimon, and, you know, 1-cost Digivolution Jet Sylphimon to recover is huge. So we do see XVmon attacking there, reveals a Patamon, so there's a card gone down. And I think what Sam's thinking here is very simply, look, last game went really well. Yeah, sure, I hit a couple of stumbling blocks on the way out, but the fact of the matter is, my deck went up, I lost a few Digimon, but between XVmon and Imperialdramon mostly, we were able to finish out this game. It's also one of the reasons this deck is so good. We see it just absolutely crushing sometimes, even when you're not getting level 6s out. Sam won that last game on level 5s. Not every deck in the format is able to do that. That gives a huge advantage. It's why we see so many of these decks around. Speaking of that Eden's Javelin, we do see it coming down here. That is going to get rid of a bunch of Digimon. That leaves Sam without any Digimon on the board. So we had to Demi Vmon, which is nice, but it's not everything yet. Now we get the evolution into that Vmon. Remember that Vmon also has jamming, though does lose it when you evolve, unfortunately, which is a little bit sad. Plays another Vmon, searching for one of those free Digimon. One with that free trait, gets it into your hand, goes to the next Vmon, and it looks like what we're doing here with Sam is kind of building out the board a little bit there. Just trying to make sure, we've got a Vmon in hand, Vmon on the board, Vmon in the raising area, getting ready to start digivolving those up. So Zoe goes out there, we see a Zephyrmon coming down, digivolving up onto it here. That says that your security Digimon are gaining 3,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. And it activates because they digivolved from a Zoe or a Moto. From another tamer, it unfortunately wouldn't work, but it does. Then we see Jet Sylphimon. That's what you're looking for. One cost Digivolution. Now we recover that security card. And this is exactly what Ben's deck is trying to do. This is absolutely perfect. It also means that if Sam is attacking into the stack with a Digimon that doesn't have jamming, it's going to be far more likely that Digimon gets deleted. Because it is also worth mentioning, Zoe or Remoto as an inheritable skill gives 3,000 to your security Digimon. So Ben's security Digimon have an extra 6,000 power here. So if Sam is attacking with anything that doesn't have jamming, it's basically going down at this stage, I think is fair to say. So, yellow memory boost coming down. Let's look at the top 4 cards. Grab yourself a yellow Digimon. And then it stays there. And at some point in the future, you can activate its delay skill to gain 2 memory. And essentially, the whole time it's on the board, your opponent is constantly sitting there going, now what? Do I risk it? Can I afford to, if I'm giving my opponent 3 memory, well, hang on a second, I'm actually giving them 5 memory, which means all of those times you're thinking about what your opponent can do when you're trying to predict their future moves, you've got to be doing this prediction based on the fact that they're going to have 2 more memory than it actually says they've got, or at least that they could have. And that's why, and we see these delay cards a lot. They are very prevalent. They are seen in a huge amount of decks, and there's a very, very good reason for it. So, we see that Vmon coming out from the breeding area here. And what have we got? Sam's got a lot of cards in hand. He's got a couple of Vmon out on the board. What's the play here? Obviously, what we've seen so far, it looks like, so we are attacking with the Vmon. Do remember, it has jamming. Oh, that's a bad result there. And because Zoe Remoto got played, the reason you see Ben picking up the security there is because Zoe's got that skill that lets you search a security for a hybrid or 10 warriors. So Ben does just get to have another little bit of a look there. Unfortunately, isn't able to find anything useful. But that's, oh my goodness. So what we see there for Antique Takashi's got a very similar skill. Lets you search for a yellow card. Doesn't have to be a hybrid or 10 warriors. There's any yellow card. So, I mean, Sam, when you're playing against a hybrid deck, what you don't want to do is just give your opponent 3 tamers. Sam's just taken out 2 security, but in doing so, has just given his opponent 2 free tamers on the board in a hybrid deck that is especially awkward. So, I mean, Ben doesn't want to be giving up this security. Nobody ever really does. But right now, Ben's got 3 security remaining. He's only 1 security down in the grand scheme of the game. But Sam's just given him 2 free tamers. That is absolutely huge. So Ben's kind of loving this now. The question is, does Ben have those hybrid Digimon? Does Ben have a hand of Digimon, your Zephyrmon and your Kazemon that you can go and evolve up those tamers into? If Ben does, that's huge. Absolutely huge. So, looking at the hand there, it doesn't look like there are the Digimon in there. We've got a Rapidmon, we've got bigger Digimon there, we've got your Salamon, we've got a couple of option cards, but unfortunately, I'm not sure Ben's hand is where he wants it to be. He's just been given a huge gift of 2 tamers on the board, but Sam's doing all right here. Still not able to pick up those bigger Digimon. Does look like he's got an XVmon in hand. You'd expect that that's going to be coming down in the not too distant future. That is a card which is absolutely huge. We do see a Megadeth, I believe, coming down here. And that's the one, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return a suspended Digimon to the hand. The only option there was actually to suspend that and put it back into the hand. And don't get me wrong, that's taking away the pressure, it's stopping Ben attacking and all of that. But do remember, I think that puts a Jet Sylphimon back into Ben's hand, which does give an extra use to that recovery potentially in the future, which could end up being a bit of an advantage. Now, Rapidmon, huge card. We see so much Rapidmon in the game at the moment. We see there it's actually gone and just done a little bit of a board wipe, a little bit of a mini board wipe. You suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then 3 of your opponent's suspended Digimon get minus 5,000 power. Those Vmon are all gone. And this is big. So that Rapidmon comes out, gets a huge amount of value there. And that is huge, absolutely huge. We do see, I think, Davis come down, but there's not much on Sam's board. Sam was in a very good position a moment ago, but we see, as we see so often, and there we go, Zephyrmon coming down. So now we've got plus 6,000 to all of those security Digimon. So Sam is just not going to be attacking in security. And there's that Jet Sylphimon with the recovery, which is absolutely huge. And then we see an attack with a Jet Sylphimon. Remember, the Tamer was down last turn. I was going to say, I thought they'd forgotten the recovery. Now it comes down and attacks into a Chimeramon. So it does go down because of that. But, I mean, what more could you ask for, right? Yeah, fine, the Jet Sylphimon went down. But you know what? Before it went down, it gave you an extra security card and took out a security card. That's a 2 security card swing. Oh, no, you lost the Digimon. And that's the downside of something like a Megadeth. That Jet Sylphimon went back into the hand, and that's not always an ideal situation. Speaking of recovery, what we've got here is another card which has gone and been limited because it's literally too good. It's reinforcing memory boost. Let's look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one on top of your security. So there is even an element of choosing what's on top of your security. You know, put a Tamer down, for instance, knowing that your opponent is going to give it to you for free when they attack. And then it goes into your battle as a delay to gain free memory. So that's potentially, 5 extra memory that could be gained in the future from those cards. So this is potentially kind of big. So we do see an Ice Wall coming down from Sam. We are seeing restricted cards left, right, and center. Whenever Ben attacks next turn, is going to be losing 2 memory. It's not an ideal situation. But we do see a Vmon come down, goes and grabs a Imperialdramon. So at least we've got something to work with next turn for Sam. So, what's Ben's play here? He's got a lot of cards in hand, a huge amount of cards in hand. So what's going on in terms of, what's the play here? There's got to be something. You don't have that many cards in hand and have no options at all. There's got to be something going on here. We've got a lot of expensive option cards. We've got some expensive level 6s, but we've got a couple of Salamon. There's a Patamon there. Okay, I was going to say, there must be a hybrid in there. There is. So Digimon comes out, Digivolves into a Kazimon. It's just a vanilla hybrid Digimon, if that's not an oxymoron. It comes out as just, hey, here we go. This is it. So, we see another recovery there because Jet Sylphimon comes down again. Jet Sylphimon's such a ridiculously good card in this deck. Like, when in any deck, to be honest, whenever you can make use of it, if you can do a 1-cost Digivolve that also recovers, you're giving up so little in terms of resources, but you're also getting that recovery. This is absolutely huge. Such a phenomenal card. And, it's one of those, as soon as those hybrid cards were revealed, the community as a whole, myself included, went, oh, yellow's getting a bit good. So we do see that delay skill being used by Ben here, and I love this. That gives him 2 memory, so he can attack with Rapidmon, and then you lose 2 memory because the Ice Wall is very much still active, but it means you can do so without giving up your turn. And it looks like, we go into a Phanamon fall down mode here with another recovery. So many cards Ben's got for recovery in this deck. You got the Jet Silphamon, the Aphanamon fall down mode. You got the reinforced memory boost. It's such a good deck in terms of that. So, okay, fine. You know, that Ice Wall stops Ben doing too much attacking last turn, but you've now got that big Aphanamon fall down mode. You've got Rapidmon there as well. Sam's got one card remaining in terms of security, and honestly, Ben's got like 6 or 7. It's a lot, all right? I think we're now down to 5. You can see it a bit clearer on the hand cam there. I believe it's 5, and that is... There we go. So confirmation there that Ben does have 5 security cards remaining. We're deep into the game. Sam's done loads of attacks. We do see a DNA Digivolution here. Are we going Imperialdramon or Dino Beamon? We are going Imperialdramon, and there we go. Return a suspended Digimon. And it was always going to be that Imperialdramon, partly because it was the only potential option. But that is at least good. And now we've got what we see so often. We've got that Imperialdramon, but it's got an XVmon under it, which means that you can take advantage of, you can take advantage of, attacking into the stack, knowing that you're not going to be going down there. That is such a huge advantage. As a side note, do bear in mind that Stingmon's got an inheritable skill. If you have a blue Digimon in play when you attack, you draw 1. So if anybody's wondering why we see the drawing of the cards from Sam there, it's because of Stingmon's attack. So now we actually see an Imperialdramon Dragon mode coming out, and this is that skill we've seen that lets you play 2 level 4s from under it, a blue and a green. It's why the DNA Digivolution is so crucial here, because if you can get a DNA Digivolution off, that's going to give you 2 level 4s underneath that Imperialdramon, which means when you evolve up, you can play both of them out, and now that one Digimon has turned into 3, which has then turned into 2, because we see a second DNA Digivolution into the Imperialdramon again. Unfortunately, there's, it's one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 or less goes to the bottom of the deck, and unfortunately, that doesn't work. There is a Dalek going behind me very loudly, so if that's coming across on the mic, I apologize. Oh, and unfortunately, we're slightly too late on the camera. We tried to catch a Dalek. We tried that for you, ladies and gentlemen. It didn't work. Hey-ho. Always nice when you've got Daleks running around at a tournament. As long as they're not actual real Daleks, that would be bad. So Imperialdramon here looks like we are getting an attack off. It's got 12,000 power. It's another free tamer. If anyone's counting, Ben's now got 5 tamers in play, not including the Zoe Oromoto underneath the Aphanamon fall down mode. So Ben is not hurting for tamers here. This is fantastic for Ben. The thing is, his security has actually been whittled down. Sam has done a great job weathering the storm of recovery. Sam's got 1 security remaining. Ben's only got 1 Digimon on the board, and Aphanamon fall down mode, it's got a nice deletion skill. It's got a nice Digivolution skill, but what it's not doing is taking out extra security cards. So Hammerspark gives, double Hammerspark gives 2 more memory to Sam, but Ben's not winning next turn. Although I say that could potentially a lie, because do remember, if those tamers turn into hybrid, because they've been down for a turn, they will be able to attack. That's Ben's route to victory here. Now, Sam gets a Magnamon. This is another one of those fantastic armor Digimon. It's got blocker, and it's got armor purge. Mega Death here is going to put a Aphanamon fall down mode back into Ben's hand. So Ben can still win the game here. It is possible, but no. Well, okay. So that Magnamon has got blocker, which is kind of an issue. And it's getting an extra 2,000 power for each armor form Digimon in your trash. So it's a big hard blocker at this stage. It's a big tough blocker. What that means is that if Ben's going to win, he's basically got to get 3 hybrid Digimon out, 1 to go through the blocker of Magnamon, or at least, just to take up the blocker, 1 to take out the final security card, and then 1 to attack for the victory. Ben does have a lot of cards in hand. We do see the first one coming out here. It's that Zephyrmon. So now we got plus 6,000 to all of Ben's security Digimon. 3,000 for the Zephyrmon, 3,000 for the Zoe Oromoto. And then we see the Jet Silphamon. So there is a recovery. Well, draw a card for a double, and there should be a recovery coming down here. There we go. So now there's 3 security remaining on Ben's side of the board rather than the 2 we had before. And it's awkward to the right. If you're Ben here, you basically got 2 choices. You can either attack with Jet Silphamon but it's going to get blocked. So no, you can't even do that because of the skill that Magnemon's so powerful that actually I don't think there's any point even attacking. You're just going to get blocked and lose it. So for Ben here, I suppose what you're doing is just setting up for next turn. I mean, an evolution on that Uppermon would be absolutely huge. Give access to another Digimon next turn. Any more hybrid? And there are level 3s in hand, are there? Yeah, so we've got level 3s in hand. You know, there's that Salamon with a deletion skill. And I think what you need to do is try and Digivolve that Uppermon. So at least then you've got another Digimon to bring out at the start of your next turn. And, you know, we've got at least 2 Salamon in hand there. So that's something I'd be very much looking to do. Digivolve that Uppermon. Give yourself an option for the following turn. Because that Magnemon, as powerful as it is with Blocker, means that Jet Sylphimon really is in an awkward position. You can't really afford to attack with it. And you can't just trade because the skill makes, unless there's no armor form Digimon in Sam's discard pile, you can't just trade the Jet Sylphimon. But it looks like, oh, we're not seeing a block here. So we did do this minus 1,000 from the Tamer there to bring the Magnemon into range. We actually saw there. So there must not be that many armor form in Sam's discard pile because the Magnemon, you know, when it digivolves up, it gets plus 2,000 until the end of your opponent's next turn for each armor form in your trash. So you would imagine that Magnemon would be pretty powerful here, you know, able to take that. But Sam chooses not to block, lets it go through, so must have known it was going to go down. Now we do see that evolution on the Uppermon. That was what I really wanted to see from Ben here. So that's really good. Now Ben's got that Jet Sylphimon, and we've got that Patamon. That's really, really good. I am loving that. Ben needs to get one attack through next turn. There's one blocker on Sam's side of the board. It is awkward here, though, for Ben. Because one of the things you've kind of got to worry about is if that Magnemon stays on the board, Sam can potentially try and bump the Jet Sylphimon, get rid of that. And then if Ben's only got one potential attacking Digimon, that Magnemon will be able to block and stop it. Ben needs to be able to get one attack through in order to win this game. So we do see, oh, we go into Shine Greymon. This is going to be big. Because what we've got here, you suspend all of your Tamers, and for each one suspended, you select a Digimon and give it minus 4,000 power. And you can put them all onto one. You can choose as much as you like. But that's kind of huge. We are going to see some good stuff coming down here. That Shine Greymon is big. So it looks like we're getting rid of that. And that now is absolutely huge. Because with that Magnemon down, Sam doesn't have any blockers on the board. And Ben does have one Digimon in the raising area. And does have, you know, there's zero security on Sam's side of the board. So what Ben's looking to do here is, you know, really just bring out that Patamon and attack for game. So now it's up to Sam. Sam's goal here is to really try and make sure that he can stop Ben. Because the game is very much in Ben's control at this stage. Ben has been doing that recovery. He's built it up quite nicely. Sam is still a way away from winning. There's still 3 security cards on Ben's side of the board. Sam's got 1 Digimon he can use and 1 in the raising area, which is not any good till next turn. So Sam's not winning this turn. Ben could potentially win next turn. So Sam's priority here is stop Ben winning. And unfortunately, it's not just taking the Shine Greymon off the board, which, let's face it, is going to be a bit of a task in and of itself. It's also about the Patamon. That Patamon can just come out and swing for game. And Sam doesn't have the Magnemon as a blocker anymore. Now, it would be lovely if Sam could get one back. And Sam has 6 memory. You don't often see players with 6 memory. So we're swinging here. Oh, my goodness. The Imperialdramon hits into a Susanumon. That is one of the ones you did not want to see. So that goes down, taking out just 1 security. That is really not what Sam was looking for. If you're trying to make the comeback, that is not the way to do it. So that's awkward. Sam now has no Digimon on the board. There's 2 Tamers, but Sam is not playing a hybrid deck. There is a Vmon, but that's in the raising area, so that's not going to be doing very much here. Oh, I tell you, though, there is a little bit of hybrid here. We do actually see a single hybrid Digimon coming down here. We've got that Lobamon coming down. That is not what I was expecting to see here. That's kind of big. That's actually played as a one-off. So, you know, I'm looking at Sam's deck list here. There is literally only 1 copy of it. That was a bit of a surprise to me. I did not have a chance to really dig through the deck list before this game started. That was huge. And now we see DNA Digivolution getting that Imperialdramon out. And hang on a second, because now we're attacking into the stack. Actually, Sam pulls out the win out of nowhere, and Sam takes a 2-0 victory. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I did not see that coming. That came completely out of nowhere. Getting that Lobamon coming out onto, as a hybrid Digimon, and then playing, and then getting into DNA Digivolution, getting the double attack with that Imperialdramon, which we know we are allowed to do. Oh, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm assuming that took Ben by surprise as much as it took me by surprise. That was weird. And these Imperialdramon decks generally do not play the hybrids. They play the Davis and they play the Davis and Ken. They are really good tamer cards for this kind of deck, and we see them all the time. But they're played for the skills. They're not really played for these hybrid Digimon. And, Sam knows that. Sam is playing exactly one Lobamon in his deck. Sam is not playing to, really get these hybrid Digimon out. Plays one Lobamon, but that Lobamon into the DNA Digivolution, getting a double attack with Imperialdramon. That was an amazing end to the game. Takes a 2-0 victory. I did not see that coming, and I'm willing to bet most of you watching probably didn't either. Well, that was an incredibly exciting end to round 2. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to leave it. We're going to be back with round 3 very, very shortly, so grab yourselves a nice cold beverage. Go and relax a minute, but don't be gone long. We're going to be back with round 3, and judging by what we've seen already, it's probably going to be a good one.